I'd like to talk, if I may, about the degradation of what passes for culture in this country. One only has to look at our television screens to see exactly what I mean. Recently, I was at my mother's house watching a wonderful programme. It was Agatha Christie. Big fan of Agatha Christie. Love murder mystery. The mystery part, not the murder. I'm not that bad. And when it had finished, I went into the kitchen to get myself a cup of tea and a hobnob. Big fan of hobnobs. Yes, I've been known to get for a whole packet in one sitting. And when I came back, there was a different programme that my mother, and bear in mind she's well into her 70s, my mother was watching a different programme. I did not catch the title, but it involved two men in bed together. One of them got out of the bed and I saw his bottom. There was nothing wrong with the bottom per se. It was round, essentially hairless and perfectly pert, but it was a bottom. And I did not wish to see that thrust in my face at that time, on that day, especially with my mother present. So I did what I thought was a reasonable response. I picked up a brick and I smashed it into the television set, destroying it to pieces, which I thought was a reasonable response on that day, at that time. But it's not just television. One only has to look at our newspaper journals, or magazines as young people call them. I was recently in my newsagents. Went to pick up the Sunday paper. I like to do the crossword of a Sunday. Yes, I do cryptic. And I saw a magazine that I found really quite offensive. On the front cover was a young man, practically naked, wearing just jeans and a t-shirt, holding what I consider to be a phallic symbol. It was a bulbous and, yes, black aubergine. He was thrusting it in my face, essentially saying, I felt, come and have a go on my aubergine, big boy, we'll have some fun, okay? That's what I felt he was saying. The magazine was called Gardener's World, something like, I don't know what it was. The point is, I did not want to see it at that time. So I did what I thought was a reasonable response. I picked up a lighter from the counter and I set fire to every magazine in the shop. Something I thought was a reasonable response on that day, at that time, okay? Finally, I'd just like to talk about art. Modern art in particular, or as I like to call it, not art. Now, I believe art should have two functions. One, you should be able to hang it up. And B, it should look pretty. Anything else just ain't getting in my gallery, my friend. I don't have a gallery. I saw a sculpture the other day that I found really quite offensive. It was a replica of apparently a famous piece of work. It was a lady, completely naked, teats a go-go, and she didn't have any arms, which I found A, sick, and 2, confusing. So I did what I thought was a perfectly reasonable thing. I took out the hammer I always carry with me, and I proceeded to smash it into little pieces, something I thought was a reasonable response on that day, at that time. So how do we deal with these people, with these perpetrators of British culture? Well, something I think is the best response is something inspired by my hero, Vlad Dracul, Vlad the Impaler. Not a very popular guy these days. Heroes never are. There's some truth to that rumour. He had a wonderful system, something called impalement. You take a long shaft, any wooden pole will do, you round off the end, you cover it in some kind of grease, household lard, you insert it forcibly into their anus, dig it into the ground, pull them up, dig it into the ground, watch as they slowly slide down, popping organs 1, 2, 3, till finally through the top of the head. I like it for two reasons. One, families love it. And B, it brings communities together. So that's what I feel we should give it a go. Maybe it's not very popular at the minute. Maybe it is a bit extreme, but maybe I'm an extreme kind of guy. Thanks for listening.